Hi, everybody. Welcome to
Mhm.
Celestial You. Thanks for joining us. I'm here again with Laura Barat, and we're talking about astrology today. So,
Mhm.
hi, Laura.
Hello. How are
How are you
you?
doing?
I'm doing great. Really
Good.
excited to talk about this today.
Yay. So, we're going to go ahead and do the global predictions. We're targeting talking about September today and the September outlook for global predictions. And then after that, we will be also talking about the inner predictions as well. So I'll hand off to you, Laura.
Okay.
Next time you can tune in, we will be talking about the eclipse, the solar eclipse in October 25th.
Mhm.
And we have a large discussion we're going to be doing about that. So make sure to tune into our next session as well. We're just going to go month by month and see how it goes.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll talk about what I see happening in the world and based on the Lunar New Year at Yamakoti, or one of the ancient prime meridians. And this is mentioned in several Vedic texts. The big one is the Surya Siddhanta that mentions Yamakoti and a few others, but this is the one I use. And so what it does, it gives house cusps, uh, which bring down events going on in the sky to certain places on the earth. So it's I love to use it. I find it very accurate. um, I'll share my
So
screen.
Laura, is Yamakoti the does that help to predict the like world events then? Is that
Yes.
okay?
World events. And I use uh, the Lunar New Year, which is also the Chinese New Year,
Okay.
if you all out there are curious. And you can also use it for you can use it for Sankrantis, or ingresses, especially into Aries, but also into any of the cardinal signs. Basically, when the seasons begin, so at the
Okay.
solstices and the equinox. Uh, but I like to use the Lunar New Year. I've just found that it's more accurate in my
Okay.
predictions. So I'll bring that up here to share. Okay. So uh okay, good. So this is I'll just take that out for now. This is the Lunar New Year that begins on February 1st, 2002, or it began then. And you'll notice there's a lot of planets in the seventh house. There's three planets in the eighth house. So that's kind of indicative so far of what's been happening this year. In Vedic astrology, the seventh house rules foreign countries, dealing with foreigners, trade, those types of things. Whenever you have a Venus Mars conjunction, that usually indicates violence or some type of instability. Um, Even in natal charts, this combination can bring that. Um,
The and also the severing of like diplomatic relations. I'm
right.
sure.
Yeah, definitely. Mars breaks things and cuts things off. Venus is the diplomat. So there you go. Totally. It's in the sign of Capricorn. Capricorn is a more difficult sign. It in the Gemini system, it says aquatic animals, things, birds flying through the air. It's a metaphor for a lot of mental um, disturbances and getting over those
Things
things.
kind of attacking you at different angles and
Right, right.
crocodiles or something like that are snapping
Yeah,
at you.
yeah. Definitely.
So
So,
kind of that feeling of being ambushed, right? Like
yeah, very much so. And it can cause, Capricorn is a sign where you can be, you're in a place that you don't really feel comfortable, like in a town or a city. You live in a place where you don't feel right, but you actually have a very strong purpose in that place. And it can grind against you or give you, you know, there's some friction there, but you have very strong karma there. You have a duty to perform. That's another indication of Capricorn. It can also indicate the village that you lived in or the town or city you grew up in. Something happened in that place that was very unsettling. Okay,
So Laura, would this like herald a lot of people being maybe displaced, like
yeah,
having
yeah,
to
good.
flee their countries or having to be somewhere foreign?
Absolutely, definitely. That
Refugees kind of
right,
situation.
refugees, and that can also be seen because in this chart you've got Cancer rising. Cancer, of course, is the sign of foreigners according to Gemini astrology. And then you've got the third lord here in the seventh house, which is movement, travel, things, you know, moving around a lot of changes. And then Saturn goes to the eighth house, another huge house of massive major change and transformation. So this can all very be seen quite strongly. Now, in Western astrology, the seventh house is the house of war. In Vedic astrology, it's in the eighth.
Eighth house, yeah.
The eighth house is the house of war. So the rising is Cancer, and the moon goes to the eighth house. And wherever the sun and moon are, what houses they rule, what houses they occupy in this chart is really important because that's what this is based on. It's based on the new moon. So, and then of course you have the second house of wealth going to the eighth house. and the second house becomes very important because it's ruled by the sun, and the sun and moon are
I was
big
gonna
players.
say, like, especially in Aquarius, it seems like changes to banking or changes to how people deal with like investors and money and banks and things like that.
Right, exactly. And hiding it. So Aquarius is the sign of NGOs.
Okay.
And charities, you know, governmental agencies, because Aquarius is a humanitarian sign. It's the sign of humanitarianism, but it's you know, this is an affliction because the sun and moon, well, the Saturn and the sun are enemies to each other, and the moon is an enemy to Saturn. So there's a lot of hidden dealings around government agencies, a lot of sinister politics going on here. The eighth house is also politics, but it's politics in the sense of backroom deals. And things that are, you know, hidden, kind of a Machiavellian type of negotiations. But
yeah.
So that's very strongly seen here. Now, for September, I brought up for the transits, I put in September 1st, okay? And I'm just going to put that in the middle here so we can see it and how it's affecting the houses and some of the planets. But what I thought was interesting is we currently have Mars in the 12th house, and it'll be in the 12th throughout September. And why I'm choosing Mars is because Mars is planetary aspecting all of these planets in this seventh house. It just went and aspected natal or the lunar New Year Mars in Capricorn at 5 degrees of Capricorn. It's doing an exact planetary aspect. that's in the Vedic system, Mars always aspects the eighth from himself. So what I thought was interesting that happened, so Mars happens to rule the 10th house, which is the rulers. Okay, the rulers of the worldly rulers. It's also famous people. People are really famous. Okay, so Mars is aspecting or transiting Mars for September. It just happened. Well, it hasn't happened yet, but this is still Mars is still kind of close, and
Well, and
that shows
it was in Taurus just before in that also Rashi
yeah.
aspects.
Let me see where it is now.
So
Yeah, it's at 26. So it was actually in a trine with Pluto and right on top of Rahu.
yeah.
Oh wow. Okay. So
But that would have
yeah,
Rashi aspected Capricorn, so all of those seventh house planets as well. So yeah.
right, exactly. And exact Rashi aspected Mars. So it was at 26. I'll just bring this up here. So this is for today. Okay.
Yeah.
So Mars is at 2644. So it's exact Rashi aspecting natal Mars. That's a mirror. And what it was interesting was that, that attack on that Salman Rushdie. That when he's kind of famous. Then you also had Trump being raided in Mar-a-Lago. So you had rulers, you had, and of course Mars is police, military, violence, all that stuff. So that really showed up. Now on September 1st, the beginning of September, I'll just put that in. So Mars moves into Gemini, but he'll be planetary aspecting these planets, especially natal or the Mars of the Lunar New Year. So I expect something, another type of attack or some unrest around a ruler.
Yeah.
A world leader. And definitely around this time, in the beginning. And then Mars will keep going through Gemini and get really close to Venus and later on to Mercury. I don't know if that'll be within September. Let me just make sure. Put the last day of September here. So no, it doesn't. It gets within 5 degrees of Mercury at the end of September. But but it will aspect that Venus and planetary by planetary aspect. And this is what I think I said this in my last video, one of my videos, but I did see an attack on a diplomat.
Yeah.
Somebody going to a different country and trying to negotiate something and something happening to that person.
Yeah.
So that's what I see with regard to Mars. Now, another really interesting one is the node. Okay, so the nodal axis right now in the beginning of September will be at 1534 of Taurus for Rahu and 1534 of Scorpio. And this nodal axis is going to move slowly, but it's coming very close. It's squaring Saturn right now. It's exact squaring Saturn at the beginning of September. That always indicates some more challenging events. Then it's going to be squaring the new moon or the lunar new moon, the lunar new year. So in this combination in the 8th house. And whenever that happens, the nodes are two planets that hide things. They cause smoke. Okay. Rahu hides them less than K2. K2 is like a black hole where they swallow something. So you don't know what's going on there until you're right on top of it. And Rahu is more of a grayish color. So being in the 11th and the 5th house, so the 11th house has to do with groups and social networks. It has to do with gain. It has to do with recognition and awards. And the 5th house has to do with the legacy of something, because it's children, it's creativity, but it's also what we're known by. The 5th house is also fall from royalty. It rules when somebody loses power and influence, when they lose position. So this to me is showing, because it's going to square the sun and moon, again, some major ruler will fall from royalty or be attacked, or, you know, there's a coup or something of that nature.
Have you looked at, I mean, I know my friends who are Ukrainian have a preference on who that ruler is, but
oh yeah,
but would this be a situation like you could pull up someone like Putin and see if it was
oh
maybe
definitely,
someone? Okay.
definitely, you could pull up Putin's chart. The thing with Putin, though, we don't know if that's his. And
Real
even
time.
if it is around that time, it's not rectified. I think it says 2 p.m. or 9 a.m. I can't remember, but it was right on the, you know, beginning of the hour, and it's usually
So interesting.
but I will say, though, that I don't think it will be Putin, because it looks as if that it'll be in the southern hemisphere.
Oh.
The reason that is because, all right, so there's two ways to look at directions. You can look at it through elements. So fire signs are in the east, air signs are in the west, water is the north, and earth is the south. Okay. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Yeah. And then there's another way to look at it. So you can look at this as if it was a map of the sun, this South Indian chart. And so Aries and Taurus are the east. This is where the sun rises. Cancer and Leo are the north, because this is the summertime in the northern hemisphere, and this is where the sun is farthest north.
Yeah.
Okay. Then the west, this is where the sun sets, or is Libra and Scorpio, and then Capricorn and Aquarius are the south. This is when the winter for the northern hemisphere. And so the sun is lowest here. And so when this usually, this part of the zodiac means the south.
Oh, I see.
And since so it's the southern hemisphere, but Capricorn too is the earth sign that is the south. And so
well, because it's the Tropic of Capricorn.
Oh, yeah, I don't know if that's how, that's probably has something to do with it.
Probably
Yeah.
has to do with it.
Yeah. But that's what I think where it'll be.
Okay.
And just because of the position of Saturn right now is in this part of the chart.
Yeah.
And this new moon will always be in Aquarius, or like that's just the time where the Lunar New Year happens. But because there's so many other indications around the when the war started in Russia, or I'm sorry, in Ukraine, that was more having to do with the eclipse. So based on the Yamakoti eclipse before that happened, that was pointing more to in the northern hemisphere. Okay, but just from what's going on right now, this node squaring that sun and moon, squaring that Saturn, doesn't really bode well for the leaders. And because of two reasons. One, because of the Mars hitting natal Mars, or the Lunar New Year Mars, as the 10th Lord, and because the sun and the moon are rulers. They're the king and queen of the planetary kingdom, and that nodal axis is going to square them. And they're in the 8th house, and they're conjoined Saturn. So I think that this
Saturn is eliminating.
Right. Saturn is longevity.
Yeah.
Saturn is death, basically. So
oh wow.
And I think it'll happen very abruptly. And see, then also too, Mars in the 12th house, we won't know who's actually doing it or did it. Or it'll be a secret.
Or the person who does it either escapes or is in exile or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a 12th house connotation
to it.
Definitely.
Interesting.
Wow. And then, and then this whole time we also have Mercury on September 1st, Mercury squares Mars in the sign of Libra. And Mercury goes retrograde. That's what I was thinking. Mercury's going to go retrograde. I can't remember the exact date, but move back into Virgo
and come back. Yeah.
And what I was seeing was with this and this kind of ties into some other things I was seeing with the new moon that happens on August 27th, that there can be there's a little bit of danger around traveling, or there is, especially airplanes. And because the sun and Mercury rule birds, Mercury rules travel, and within the context of what you travel on, the sun and Mercury rule airplanes, because they're birds. Mars rules, just mechanical travel in general. And then Venus rules the quadrupeds, or on an animal. Also cars, because they have 4 wheels.
The vehicles and things.
Yeah, right. So and then I was seeing, when you had this nodal square to the sun and moon, and you had Mercury and Mars within the same, they're trining each other in the transits, and Mercury is squaring this Mars. I did see some possible issues with planes. And I was even, based on the new moon, but also this is going to be through September, with the influence of Rahu, it can bring, some hijackings, something, really having to do with foreign elements taking over, like something.
Theft and things like that.
Right. So, so Rahu rules thieves and people who are outside of society, terrorism, stuff like that. So but
so like airplanes hijacked and things like that.
Basically.
Oh boy. It's going to be a
Yeah,
interesting
this was
September.
yeah. Uh, it was pretty intense what I was seeing. This Lunar New Year chart is so far this new year is basically shown up. It is, what's showing in this chart has come to pass so far.
Yeah. And I
Um,
think it's maybe like September is a rough time for foreign travel almost just because of all this foreign changes and elements that are happening in Yamakoti in general, and just this transit of Mars and these nodes. I agree.
mhm.
It may not be a great time to be in foreign travel.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure here. So the third cusp is 2307 Virgo, and at the end of September, Mars will be squaring that third cusp, and right in the beginning of September, Mars will be exact Rashi aspecting.
Yeah.
So, and Mars doesn't really like being in signs of Mercury.
No.
That's what it's called, an enemy sign. Mercury is an enemy to Mars.
Mhm.
So I would just be careful,
Or it seems like, yeah, that Mars transit in Gemini like generally makes people want to take these trips, but it just seems like foreign travel may not be a great idea, but probably like more smaller, more domestic travel would be okay.
yeah, definitely. Yeah. Uh, Mars and signs of Mercury make people antsy.
Yeah.
They feel agitated. There's Mars and Mercury together in a chart can give, you really want to do something. You have all this enthusiasm and passion to do something. You're hungry for something. Mars is the fire element. So it makes us
Yeah.
hungry. But then Mercury is a manager and wants to manage things and test things out first, experiment with things first. So those two energies really kind of clash. Um, and because Mars doesn't want to test things out, he wants to rush into action and do something right away, so
Yeah. It's almost like, and I'll go over this in the internal reading, but it's almost like you're being compelled to want to do these things, but it's probably better to test them, think of them, and you're getting this like rush to want to just
mhm.
maybe do too many different things and not like focused action. So yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
I will say though
Um,
that for some good news,
yes, we need some good news.
um, that it does look like, people are going to be more concentrated on paying off their debts. Even world leaders will try to, you know, uh, smooth things over with their monetary debt. And the reason I say that is because of the aspect of Jupiter onto the sixth cusp here,
Mm-hmm.
and not spend as much money. The frivolously. You also have Jupiter. Jupiter's not really close to the 10th cusp, so he's not providing a lot of protection to leaders.
No.
Um, but he is the transiting Jupiter retrograde is Rashi aspecting the eighth house.
Mm-hmm.
So, and Jupiter moves back into Pisces, I believe the end of October. So this
Yeah.
doesn't apply there. but it is providing some protection and some benefits from any of these coups I'm seeing, or harming of world leaders. It does provide some protection from that, but I don't think that it's going to completely stop it. No, but
Yeah,
it won't be as devastating as
it could have been.
right, right,
And there may be an opportunity for them to like, it may be an opportunity where they just get exiled and not lose their life or something like
right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, or yeah, go to prison or something.
or
Um,
prison. Yeah, in that
mhm,
12th house.
So, but it is helping, and especially when Jupiter's retrograde in the Vedic system, retrograde planets are very powerful. They have Shakti, which is
Mhm.
power, because they're very bright in the
Right.
sky and they're
Hmm.
close to Earth. So, so the Jupiter is nice, and uh, and actually, just right now, even it can provide world leaders with getting things done, doing their job and getting things done, which seems to be happening a little more since Jupiter went retrograde. Uh, so so that's some good news.
Yeah,
um,
yeah. And like you said, getting more conscious of like the debt and of the nations and the leaders, thinking about
mhm,
how to address it, making it's interesting. Yeah, there's definitely some problem points throughout the month, but there's also
yeah,
some opportunities as well. I can see
yes,
that.
yeah, definitely.
All
So
right.
that's yeah, those are the main points that I
Cool.
really
That's
wanted to touch
September.
on. So, yeah.
All